Now, there is still tension in Minneapolis as other U.S. cities over the fatal shooting of 37-year-old intensive care nurse Alex Pretty by immigration agents. Many Republican lawmakers have joined calls to pressure the Trump administration to ensure full investigation into the second shooting in the city by federal agents in 2 weeks. The governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, says America is at an inflection point. He has asked President Donald Trump to remove federal immigration agents from Minneapolis. The U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says Alex Pretty was shot because he was brandishing a gun. But local authorities say the gun was legally registered and he was shot after it was removed from him. A protest over his killing have spread to New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. President Trump has signaled that he might eventually withdraw ICE agents from the Minneapolis area, but he has not given a time frame. Now, for more on the spreading protest in the United States, immigration law officer Andrew Thomas joins me from Boston. Good to have you join us. So, Minneapolis is not new to issues like this. You will remember the case of George Floyd. He was killed in Minneapolis in 2020 over extreme policing. But this is, again, extreme policing, but has to do with immigration. First, it was Renee Good earlier in January, and now Alex Pretty. I just want to get to your thought on this, because the governor of Minnesota says U.S. is at an inflection point.
Well, thank you for that question. First off, condolences to the family of the gentleman who was shot over the weekend. Any loss of life is a very serious situation, especially in the context involving law enforcement. To answer your question particularly, facts are disputed. And I think the starting point before we go into the details is that the public deserves an impartial investigation that is transparent and that is seen to be fair to all sides, especially the victim, in a way that it can possibly give a glimmer of hope of public trust, especially for the operations of ICE and Border Patrol, which has been very, very aggressive.
And again, you mentioned that the ICE and Border Patrol has been, in terms of the activities and the enforcement strategy, has been very aggressive. And I'm wondering who is saddled with the responsibility of checking the legality of this enforcement strategy.
Well, what I can say is that immigration is in the purview of the federal government, but immigration enforcement affects people, affects communities, affects neighborhoods, and how they choose to execute enforcement policies can build, or as the case is now, erode public trust. So however they choose to enforce the president's immigration agenda, there must be guardrails. Unfortunately, if you look at it on a partisan basis, it's been looking like one section of the society has been pointing out what is wrong with the enforcement tactics in Minneapolis and in other parts of the United States. But as it were, what will be seen to be just is that there should be guardrails. It appears many of these agents feel emboldened by seeming inactions for the unconstitutional steps they've been taking. For example, somebody is already restrained and you're directly pepper spraying the person. Somebody is not physically engaging or confronting agents, and the use of force is always very disproportionate. So as it were, there's a need for well-meaning Americans, especially those who've been elected, to speak up, to request that things are much more transparent and be seen to be so.
So it's just a lack of empathy in carrying out this enforcement, and then they almost like being disgusted, as it were, or being repulsed by just immigrants and foreigners in the U.S. Does Congress has any oversight function here? Because both Republican and Democrats lawmakers are calling for investigation.
The Department of Homeland Security is in charge of ICE, in charge of Border Patrol and all arms of immigration agencies. As it were, there should be oversight from Congress, the House of Representatives, and the Senate. But it appears they're not doing enough. And the argument has been that should we still fund an agency that has disregard for all Americans, especially American citizens? So, as it were, it's a very good question to ask. And I think if the members of Congress decide not to step up, all those involved can also seek refuge in the courts to make sure that immigration enforcement follows the rule of law and due process.
And I like that you mentioned American citizens, because most of these people now who are also now being affected are actually American citizens who have probably who have two nationalities, maybe like you are, a Nigerian American. But I also understand that people who have who have filed their papers for asylum and are just waiting for their daring courts to make their case are also being picked up and detained as well. Some of them minors who are being detained along with their parents. I also just wanted to speak to the legality of that.
Well, in as much as I don't want to touch on this topic, it is very distressing. It appears the Trump administration strategy is three-pronged. Number one, limits legal pathways to immigration. Number two, engage in aggressive enforcement. Number three, deport people even before they have a right to state in a court of law why they should remain in the United States. I don't know what they hope to achieve with that, but as it were, the administration is causing more tension, causing more dislocation, making some communities, very integral communities in this country, feel isolated and feel ordered and targeted. And as it were, it is disturbing. And I hope all those people of good conscience will speak out, even now that it's much more difficult to speak out. Many people have chosen silence, but as it were, for those of us who have the responsibility to advocate for those who can advocate for themselves, we must continue to speak out, because anybody appears to be fair game in this aggressive immigration enforcement, whether you're an American citizen, whether you look American or not, without necessarily mentioning those affected directly and indirectly. Anybody can be swept up in this very, very aggressive enforcement policy of this administration. And it's unfortunate.
And I was listening to, I think, the lawyer for Renee Good's family, and he talked about, having filed a lawsuit. But I'm wondering how easy it will be to get justice, especially in cases where a lawsuit has been filed, considering the legal issues around legal immunity and constitutional law.
Well, I am very hopeful, because the only thing that is as certain, like night, day, and taxes, is justice. No matter how long it takes, as many people who are being used to do extrajudicial things, they'll be brought to account. It's just a matter of time. And that is the difference between an ordered society and any other society. Every step you take, especially if it's extrajudicial, has consequences. Like I've said before, many of the lawyers who should know better, who took extrajudicial means in Trump 1.0, were either disbarred or suspended. So I really empathize with many people who work for these agencies who are being used extrajudicially to shoot Americans, to separate families, to humiliate communities. They'll be brought to justice. It is a matter of time.
Thank you so much for your time. I want to get your designation correctly now. It is U.S. Immigration Attorney Andrew Thomas. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me, Precious.